Hi, I'm Cheryl Kettler, and I'm an associate professor. The GW Law Fundamentals of Lawyering program approaches problems to give people an introduction to what it's really like to practice law. So we select problems that are first adapted to the level of our students' experience. We start off where some of the work is done for you, and we progressively have the students do more of that work. But our goal in setting out those problems is to replicate what it would be like in practice so that when people graduate, they feel practice ready, they are practice ready. When students take our classes, what they can expect from the problem design is that we have tried to make the problems reflect what it's like to be in practice. So for example, students have to do some of the fact analysis, and instead of relying exclusively on documents or hypotheticals that have been written out in advance, our problems involve looking at websites and discerning what might be relevant from those websites. And sometimes the links take you to other sources. So we create a series of websites that people can follow in order to do the fact development. We also pick issues that are likely to be things that students learn about in their first year of law school, but sometimes with an interesting twist. And that, I think, is one of the things that draws people in and makes it an exciting exercise. One of the problems that we worked on this past year is one that took place in Hawaii. So we had a cultural aspect to it. All of the names were native Hawaiian names, and people had to learn how to make those pronunciations. And it was a unique area of law. So it dealt with the liability that a medical center had when it had a patient who was helped by a service animal, and while in the care of the clinic, the service animal was injured. Now, in most states, that would not give rise to the type of claim that it would in Hawaii. In Hawaii, an animal can be treated as a member of the family. And as a result, we ended up having the involvement of a charity that supported providing animals to people who suffered a disability, and we also had the medical clinic, and we had the individual who was deprived of her animal for some period of time. The complications, the additional factors, I think made it more interesting for people, and the fact that it was going to be different than what they might experience in the most related class, torts class, made it something that was unique and gave them a new dimension to talk about when interviewing for jobs. In most classes in law school, the first introduction that you get is to the law itself. And so you tend to read about real cases, and you also hear about hypotheticals. And this is really the opportunity for students to answer questions where there is no answer. There are answers in a lot of the other classes, but in the fundamentals of lawyering, you have to answer where there is no specific authority that gives you the yes or the no.